Okay, welcome everybody. For those of you that weren't able to make the class today, in today's session, we would be focusing on creating process flows for engineering teams. So process flows are really critical, and that it's a way of communicating requirements to software engineers, and also communicating requirements to other product departments just across the business. And so today we'll look at the two ways of communicating requirements to engineering. And here we use process flows to capture all of the steps. So that's the agenda for today. And then we'll look at a product specification, so a product requirement document, and that will be the assessment for the week for everyone to incorporate all of the tools that we have done to create a requirement specification. Fantastic. So I hope you all can see my screen, and now let us begin. So what is a process flow? So you will hear this called either a process flow. Sometimes it's also referred to as a user journey. So user journey just implies if I want to give someone directions, how do you get from Lagos to Abuja, for example? I will then describe the steps. Okay, you have to leave your house, get to the junction, stop the taxi, get on the taxi to the airport. At the airport, take the flight that's going towards Abuja. So those are the steps. So that you can call that a user journey, or you can call it a process flow. So essentially in technology, if I tell someone, how do you make a phone call on WhatsApp? So I will tell them, first you have to find the person. So type the name of the person and then search, and then that person would surface, and then you click on the person, and then WhatsApp would open the screen of that person, and then you click on the call icon, and that will make the call. So that's a process flow. That's a user journey. Those are steps that you would take. So, and the definition for that, you would say process flows are visual representation of the steps. Yeah, the steps, the task, and the decisions involved in completing a process or a project. And essentially, these processes, these steps form what the user has to do in order to achieve a goal. If my goal on WhatsApp is to make a phone call to Godfrey, then on my phone, I have to find Godfrey. And then his contact comes up, and then I click on his name. See, that's a step. These are all steps. Once I click on call, it will then make the call to Godfrey. On platforms, if my goal on GT Bank is to transfer money, what's the first thing I do? I have to find the app, find the GT banking app, and then it loads up, and then I put my details, and then if those details are correct, it will sign me in. And then now I want to send money to someone, so I find the person, I put their bank details, and then I essentially select the person, and I specify the amount, and I click send. That's it. So you can see those are steps. So whenever you hear process flows or user journey, I want you to think of it as steps. What are the steps that the user is taking? For you to create an account, I mentioned this last week. I said everyone should practice downloading several apps. If you have an Android phone, just go on the Play Store and just download random applications and create an account. Understand the process of creating an account. It's going to ask for your name, your email. Go through that process and create. Just, once you've done it and you're happy that you were able to do it, then come off and delete the app and then download another one, because I don't want you to just be downloading apps and leaving them on your phone. Just download, achieve the goal that you downloaded the app for, which is just for you to be able to create an account, and then you see that whole journey. And then once you've done that, then you can delete it off your phone. Then find the next application and do the same. Do this for lots of apps. Why do I say you should do this? Because I strongly believe it's going to help you to get used to, apps and registration processes. Who knows? You may get a job, in product management and then someone says, we want to optimize our application registration. And you said, of course, I did something similar whilst I was, learning product management. I really wanted to master, application registration. So I just randomly downloaded multiple applications and completed their sign on and create account processes. And I've learned a few things that, really enabled me to know what good create account process looks like and what bad create account process looks like. So by that, now you can bring a lot of insights. It's like someone who, wants to be a restaurant chef and they've not really cooked in their life. How are they going to be a good chef? They're not going to be a good chef. But someone that has cooked multiple times, they will have, lots of tricks and shortcuts that they can bring into their job as a chef in a 5-star restaurant. So if you want to be a great product manager, just practice downloading apps and just trying to understand how apps, applications or websites, just go on websites, just randomly, look around, explore, see what looks good, see what looks bad. This is not wasted time. This is great time, because you really understand, and then you can understand what jobs to be done that website is achieving or that app is achieving. All of these things would make you very competent. You get a role or you're in an interview someday, when you describe your experience, whoever's on the other side will be very impressed. Effectively, they'll be able to, have a deeper conversation with you, and that may lead to you to say, you have shown a lot of initiative that we haven't seen from other candidates, and we think you'll be successful in this role. So we're going to give you the job. That is literally what product management is about. Can you show initiative? Can you do things without being told to do them? So product managers, we're strategic thinkers. So if you're a strategic thinker, you're not someone that sits there and waits to be told what to do. You're someone that sees a problem and tries to solve it before anybody even mentions a thing to you. If you're someone like that, then lots of companies would be fighting for you to join them. So I encourage everyone to take initiative and just be practicing some of these tools and these methodologies and frameworks that I share. So, what are the compositions of a process flow? So process flows, you would often see this. It would essentially be, you would see the start. So it would just be the word start. Essentially, it won't be anything else. You just see start and the process. So as I say, a process is a step. All right. So a step is, for example, find Godfrey on WhatsApp. And then the next step would be select Godfrey's name. And a decision is, so these are all processes. So processes you think of as steps. Steps for you to go from Lagos to Abuja. You don't just, you don't just get outside and you're off to, Lagos. There are steps that you have to take. The first step is you might need to pack your bags. Once you've packed your bags, you have to leave the house. Once you leave the house, you have to call for a taxi. These are all steps. So in process flows, we capture those steps in boxes like these. So here might be the first process here, the first step. You might say pack your bags. Once you packed your bags, leave the house. And the next step might be call a taxi. If the taxi is here, enter a taxi and it takes you straight to the airport. Do you have a flight? That's a decision. So a decision is where there are multiple things to be done and potentially there might be failure. For example, a decision might be, do you have a flight? Yes or no. If you have a flight, then the process would be different. And if you don't have a flight, the process will be different. For instance, in our example of flights, do you have a flight? If your answer is yes, if the question is, have you booked a flight? If your answer is yes, let's do an example with you guys so you can see what that looks like. Okay. And if you have a pen, it could be great for you to follow on, or maybe not yet, just try to understand what I'm doing first. So start always looks like this. So start, that's what it looks like. And then okay, fantastic. So, and then from there we say start, okay, and also process flows always have arrows. So arrows connect. It's a journey, so you need to connect. You can see the arrows facing that way. You must pay attention to that. That tells you the direction. So we're going to our right. So you start here. So what is the goal? So we communicate the goal. So we say, what is the goal of this journey? The goal is to move, go to travel to Abuja. Yeah, I need to try and break, so I'm breaking it down, and by doing so I need to use things that we can all relate to. Once you can understand this, then I'll bring it back to the concepts of tech. So leave, pack my clothes. Yeah, so we use verbs. So pack my clothes, and then what's the next thing? The next thing is take my boxes outside. I assume you're taking more than one box. Order a taxi to the airport because you're flying from Lagos to Abuja. Okay, taxi comes to the airport. You can say pay the taxi driver, and then go to the check-in counter. Yeah, so you can see here, pay the driver, go to the check-in counter, check in to my flight and collect flight ticket. Okay, and then here, once it's done, we can see the concept of a decision. A decision is where there are potentially multiple things to be done. If there's more than one thing possible, or if there's a wait time, you'd say, check into my flight, okay, and you've got your ticket. What happens? You wait. So you wait around the airport until when? Until when it's time to fly. So we'll then say, we can capture that by decision. We say, is it time to fly? Is it time to fly? And if the answer is yes, hold on guys, okay. So we have to make this smaller, okay. Wait for boarding to begin. That's what happens. For those of you that have flown, you know what happens. You collect your ticket, you go through security. So you can see you capture all of the steps. You can see I miss one. You go through security. That's what happens. Go through security. Go through security, and then you can wait for boarding to begin. And is it time to fly? If the answer is yes, you go ahead. If the answer is no, you have to wait for boarding to be announced. Yeah, so you can see no. Yeah, so you wait. If it's yes, you proceed. Always follow the arrow. The sign of the arrow is saying go forward. If it's time to do, then board the flight. Yeah, this is key. I want everyone to really understand the diamond, this shape. This is known as a decision point. A decision point. And these are known as process. Yeah, it's all part of the process. All of these. Yeah, you can see they're the same shape. The same shape. These are all processes. And this here, it's the start process. You know, just to begin. Start process. You can see it's circle. Yeah, it's always an oval like this. It's whenever you see this, it means it's a beginning or the end. So learn the shapes. They're all the same. All the same. Just understand the concepts. Yeah, these are all processes, and that is a decision. A decision captures where you can see wait for boarding. Okay, you wait for boarding. When do you start boarding? When it is time to fly. So how do we capture that? We use a decision point to capture. Is it time to fly? Yes, okay, then board the flight. If no, then continue to wait. That's why the arrow came back here to say keep waiting. Okay, and then you board the flight when it's time to do so. And then what else? Then flight takes off. Then the flight operators, from our perspective, flight takes off to Abuja, and what happens? Flight takes off to Abuja, and then the flight arrives. Flight arrives in Abuja, and you can see we miss something. To go back, pay the drive, check-in at counter. Okay, well, we did capture it because we're also checking our luggages. So flight arrives in Abuja, and then we depart the aircraft, and from here we go to collect our luggages, and then exit the airport. And once we exit the airport, we book taxi to our destination, wherever we're going, and that's the end. And as I said, the beginning and the end always have the same shape, and yeah, that's it. So this is known as a process flow. Essentially, it captures, what does it capture? My travel from Lagos to Abuja. That's the process we have just illustrated. Yeah, so this entire process from the beginning, from start all the way to the end, you can see. And how they usually do these is we would put these in some kind of color, the beginning and the end in some kind of color, and you can see they're the same. Yeah, you can see the two colors, and then the diamond here is a decision point, and then the rest, they're all processes. They're all things and steps that the user goes through. Someone says, how do I get from, so you can practice these. How do you get from your house to go to the shop? Do you put on shoes? Do you put on clothes? Do you walk there? Do you call a taxi? You can try capturing those steps. So this here we call a user journey. This is a user journey for someone traveling from Lagos to Abuja. Now, back to tech. So you can see I've illustrated all of these processes in our simple process flow. And so this is known as the diagrammic user process flow. There's also a different way of doing that, which we'll get to in a bit. But some of the benefits of doing process flow is that it provides a clear overview of the task and their sequence. The sequence is, for me to get to the airport and even jump on the flight, you can see there are several things that have to be done. That's a sequence. I have to first pack my clothes, then take my boxes outside the house, then order a taxi. I don't just fly from the house to the airport. Something has to take me there. So these are known as sequences. The first thing is this, then this, then this. So you can see a clear sequence, and that's great. So it provides a clear overview of the task, the steps, and their sequence. So this is really good. So you can see nothing can be missed. From a requirements perspective, you really have a clear view. So process flows are amazing for that reason. And also good in terms of spotting errors and reducing redundancy. So if you had two things, you can see everything here is distinct. Distinct as in everything is different. We don't have things that repeat themselves. So if you were describing it to someone, they can see that each box has to be different and doing a different thing, not doing the same thing. And because of that, you can have great collaboration with the team. Everyone in the business can read process flows, and they can, give you feedback and input. They can tell you, well, why don't we remove this pay the taxi? Because if I order an Uber, I don't have to pay the taxi. The taxi may collect, they may be able to process their money instantly. Yeah. So if that's the case, that can introduce another decision point. Now, this is how that would look like. It would look like this. Okay, so order taxi to the airport. The question will then be, is taxi Uber or Bolt? Because these have the ability to take payment from the app. Is taxi Uber or Bolt? If the answer is yes, then you go forward. And if the answer is no, then you pay the taxi cash. If it's no, then pay the driver cash. If the answer is yes, then go straight to the airport. There's nothing to do. Why is there nothing to do? Because Uber, I know in Nigeria sometimes you have to take out cash and pay them, but Uber and Bolt have the capability. Literally, you call the Uber, they come in and you enter, and as soon as they drop you, you just get off and you go, and the app will automatically charge you because you call them. But sometimes on Uber and Bolt, you have some of them don't enable the capability, so the feature isn't available, and so you have to pay them cash. But majority of them, you can just literally call the Uber or the Bolt, and you jump on, and it takes the money instantly without you having to pay them cash. So we do this. If you call the traditional taxis, or maybe you stop one on the road, then of course you have to pay them cash. So you can see that's known as a scenario. Yeah, there are two different scenarios here. The first scenario is if you call the taxi that takes cash, then you need to pay them cash. If you called Uber or Bolt, then they can process money instantly because your bank details are connected to the app, so you don't have to be carrying cash around. So that's the benefit there. So you can see we've accounted for that scenario, and so that's how good feedback can be. Someone may have suggested this, and in turn I reflected it. I've updated the process flow to capture that requirement. So that's how good process flows are, that you can update them, and you can always capture new scenarios or edge cases. Scenarios are where there are 2 or 3 or multiple ways of doing things. You need to be able to account for that, because not everyone does things the same way. For instance, I use Uber or Bolt. Someone else may want to use the local taxis. So our process flows here captures that. It allows for someone to either pay cash or to use Bolt or Uber. Okay, so that's that would all come from collaboration and just encouraging people to share ideas. So improvement, so facilitates analysis and optimization of processes over time. As you can see, we just went through and optimized that. That's known as improvement. So, several tools for creating process flows we've all been using so far on Confluence. And in Confluence, I think they used to have a way of creating whiteboard, no, of creating process flows. Let's see if they still do. Yeah, Lucidchart. This here does. Dismiss. Okay, but it's not linked, so no. Ignore that. We don't need to. That'll create more complexity. Okay, but Miro, as you can see, I've used Miro to do this. You can also use draw.io. That's what it's called. It's here. And yeah, everyone should have access to this on your. This is where you need a laptop, guys, unfortunately. But if for the sake of practice, you can practice on paper if you wish, but it's just not the same, because you would need to learn how to use these. For this, unfortunately, draw.io is extremely it's more challenging. So I would encourage everyone. This is where you you need to use Miro. Miro on your mobile device, you can forget it. It's very difficult to use. So if you don't have a laptop, then unfortunately this is something you're gonna have to miss out on. But yeah, you've all seen how I use Miro to do this. Essentially, it's being able to use the shapes. Yeah, rewatch this video and you will see, follow everything I did, and try to stop the video, try it out, stop the video, try it out, stop the video, try it out, and whatever I did, just try to emulate, try to copy and do exactly the same. And then once you've done it, you can practice redoing over and over and over. That's how you will kill two birds with one stone. You will A, know how to create process flows, and B, you would also be learning how to use Miro. So for tools, I would encourage Miro, because that's the free tool. I know there is Microsoft Visio, but that's not free. But if you know how to use Miro, then you can use all of these platforms, every single one of them. So Miro is a free one. Everybody should have an account, so go ahead, practice with it. And so we move on. Steps to creating a process flow. Identify the process. So the processes are known as the scope or boundaries that we want to document. So we saw here that we literally just went into it, but sometimes it's good to just write down the goal. What is the goal? My travel from Lagos to Abuja. Okay, then list all the things that you need to do. I need to pack. I need to order a taxi. I need to check in my luggage. I need to print my boarding pass. I need to go through security. Write them all down. Then you can begin drawing the diagram, because you will then look at the scope. The scope is the list. So whenever you hear scope or boundaries, these are the things that you have to document, the processes that you have to document. So go through that and do that. And that's also the same as list task. Break down the processes into individual tasks or steps. That's essentially what these two are covering. You identify the process, and then you break it down, and then you determine the sequence. What way is it going? As you saw here, the sequence is going essentially, what's the first thing to be done is to pack my clothes. I mean, we don't want to include things like take a shower, get dressed, but so we know, we take that, we assume that those things must be done. We must take a shower, we must get dressed, we must put on clothes and so on. So we assume that those things will be done. So those are assumptions, but the fundamental things that we cannot assume starts from here. Is to pack clothes, take my boxes outside, and so on. And then this define decision points. So we saw decision points there. So branching paths, that's what it's known as. We saw here there are two different ways, two different paths essentially. Am I paying with cash, or is payment taken automatically? If I'm paying with cash, then this is the route. If this payment is done by itself, then this is the way. Okay. And a lot of the time we must collaborate with our team members. We get feedback, we get ideas to optimize. But essentially, keep it simple, avoid unnecessary complexity, aim for clarity and easy comprehension. So process flows are standardized. You always get literally these three shapes. A circle is for start or end, and a square like this, it's for a process, a step. And then a diamond like this is for a decision point. That's it. Very simple. Standardized. And we update them regularly. As processes evolve, things evolve, requirements change, we update them to reflect the changes. And we encourage teams to provide us with feedback. Tell me, what have I done wrong? What can be changed? How can I optimize it? How can I make it better? And that captures the first part, which is a diagrammatic way of capturing process flows. The second way of doing this is by documenting like this. So using Microsoft Word or any word processor, or maybe Google Docs. We all should know how to use Google Docs and Microsoft products to document these. So the second way is by using descriptions. So literally text, as you can see, we start with, so you can see it captures, the notation stays the same, start and end. So we see it here, start and end. So here we're trying to capture the registration process for creating an account on Facebook. If we're on Facebook, we're capturing, how do I create an account on Facebook? Yeah, so you can see the form. I first have to, the step is go on www.facebook.com, and I'm here. I don't have an account, so I have to create a new account. So I then click on create a new account, and I fill my information, then I click sign up. That's the process. But how do we document that? We document that, you can see here, we say visit Facebook website, click on create new account, enter personal information, verify email or phone number. Yeah, so it's essentially following the step. Once you've, enter personal information, this is the personal information. Once you click sign up, Facebook is going to tell you to verify either your phone number or your email address. So whichever way you choose to verify, if it's successful, then your username and password will be created. If it's unsuccessful, you have to resend the verification so it can verify, and then you can put the code once you put the code, Facebook will say, right, we've successfully verified that this is your phone number, or we successfully verified that this is your email. And then you then click on continue. Facebook will ask you if you want to add a profile picture, if you want to find some friends, set privacy settings, explore new feeds, and that's it, the end. At the end of that, you've successfully created a Facebook account. So these are the steps that I have to follow to create a Facebook account. So you can see we've done, so equally, we could also describe everything we've done here in this diagrammatic way. So start, pack my clothes. We can also describe everything in this manner. We number it. You can see number 1 is to start, number 2 is to visit. So in our case, number 1 is to start, number 2 is to pack. What did we have? Pack my clothes. Number 3 is take my boxes outside. Number 4, order a taxi to the airport. So you can see all the way. And where there's a decision point, we capture it in this manner. You can see 5, this is a decision point. How are you verifying? Are you verifying by phone or email? And then the 2 points are success or failure, yes or no. If it's successful, it's a different way. And if it's failure, it's a different way. Yeah. So those are the two different paths to follow. So as you can see, go that way. See, one way, the next way. So we can equally capture it in that manner. Okay, and then here you can see this is a detailed version of that, but it's still the same thing. Start, visit Facebook. Here we explained it. We didn't just say visit facebook.com. Here we say visit Facebook website, and then we explained it. We say the user navigates to the Facebook website, www.facebook.com, using a web browser. Yeah, you can see we've given more details. Click on create new account. User clicks on the option to create a new account, usually found on the Facebook login page. So you can see with exactly everything we described, usually found on the Facebook. This is the login page. So the create new account is found there. So we click on there. That's the same thing. Yeah, so here we're descriptive. We describe every process. Here we didn't describe every process. We just gave the headlines. Visit facebook.com. Here we're descriptive. We describe the process. So this is very detailed. So anyone can understand it. And this is in the diagrammatic way, this is what it looks like. So this is the descriptive way. This is the diagrammatic way. So start, are you registered? If the answer is no, then you are a new user. Therefore, you need to go to registration. Once you go to registration, you're added to the database. And from there, you set a new password. And is your password correct? Yes, the end. Yeah. If your password, and then in where you are, so that's the process you go through. And if you can follow my mouse all the way, and that's it, you're done. So if you don't have an account already, you're a new user, you register, your details are added to the database, and from there you set a new password. And if your password is correct, yes, then you proceed. That's the end. And if you're not a new user, you've previously registered, you can see that is a decision point. Are you registered? Yes or no? You said yes, you are. So we want you to log in. So if that's the case, then you log in, and if your password is correct, you go straight, you're signed in. Yeah, and if you're trying to log in, they ask you, have you forgotten your password? If the answer is yes, then you need to set a new password. You can see this is a new shape. This shape is more, it's action. It's a process within a process. You can see this is this is a step, and this here is saying it's a whole new process. So it's like saying if you didn't want to scope, to sketch out, draw everything out, what does the registration process looks like? You can see here, I have drawn everything out. Yeah, I drew the whole thing out. Imagine trying to draw the whole process, it would be a lot to fill this page. So what they've done here is essentially they've captured it in one. If you don't want to spell out the whole process, this is what you would do. This means that this can be taken out and expanded, and it may come out to this many boxes. So one way to do that, for example, is to do something like this. Insert all shapes. Yeah. So guys, I think to add these shapes, you click on, if you can see my mouse, you literally click on shapes, and then if you don't see the shapes that you want, you click on all shapes, then they're all here. You select the one that you want, it adds it instantly. Yeah, I click on it, it gets added. That's it. And then I close, because I can always access that. But as I said, this shape here means a sub process. Yeah, so here I can say journey from Lagos to Abuja. And so you can see that's what this means, this shape. So you can see, and this here is the same as this. So the first one captures every single step, whereas this one doesn't. It just tells me, okay, well, essentially, but you will only do this within another process. You can see what they've done. They've done it within another process. So it's a sub-process. That's what it's called, sub-process. It's done within another process, because we don't want to expand, every single thing. If we have to expand all the single steps, then that will take forever. That will fill up the page. That's not the point here. The point here is to give you an overview of the registration process of how it works. That's why they've not expanded upon this. But if you were to expand upon it, then you would then take this and say, okay, well, how does that go? And how that goes is exactly what we've captured here in words. Does that make sense, guys? Any question on this? Okay, I assume you guys get it. So, as I've shown, this here is the detailed process. The first one is a detailed process. You really expand all the journey, so everything that it takes to achieve this goal. This is the goal. This is the goal. And we expand all the steps, everything that it takes to achieve that goal. And when we are describing another process, but we don't want to expand the entire goal, then we can use this shape to capture that in the context of another goal. Yeah, so for example, if the goal was to go to a meeting when I'm in Abuja, so my flight to Abuja, once I'm there, is then to get a taxi to the office, get a taxi to the office, and then once I'm at the office, find find the, I'm going for an interview, find the interview room, and once I'm there, complete the interview. Yeah, and that's it. So you can see we've used this. There's no point of us expanding the entire process all the way here. So we literally capture this, and we say, okay, once in my journey from Lagos to Abuja, once I'm there, get taxi to the office, find the interview room, complete the interview, the end. Yeah, so that's what they've done here. So that means whenever you see this, it means there's an entire process that has been expanded. If you join a new company today and you saw this in one of the diagrams, you can ask, I'm sorry, could you point me to where I can find this process, this registration process? They will say, sure, here's a link for you to go view the entire process. Yeah, so that's that. And you can see here the decision point, forgot password. If you did forget your password, you can reset a new password that is saved in the database, and that this symbol here, it represents a database. You too can have access to it. It's also here, all shapes, and it's here. Yeah, it looks like that. So in the context of creating accounts, in the context of things being stored in databases, you can use this symbol to represent database. And that is all, guys. This is a critical way of communicating in terms of requirements. So I wanted everyone to learn this. How do we communicate to anyone within the business, not just to our engineering teams, but also to marketing or just requirements in general? How do we communicate them? As product managers, oftentimes we use this method, but for those that are really good, they can use this method. So you choose whichever ones you like the most, and yeah, and try to master that. So I've given you both options as a way for you to try and master. So I will set some homework to help you solidify on this skill, and I will want for you to create it in Confluence. So again, you'll do the same thing. So if you ever created a page on Confluence that you didn't want to write on, you just need to close. You need to do this. Click on close draft, and that's it. The page will be closed. So I will want everyone give it a page, give it a name. So user flow for the company that you chose, and I will set the assignment so everyone understands. I'll give it a name, but essentially you will come to your name and you will do exactly what I did. You can see I came to my name and I clicked on that, and this is it here, user flow, and then I can proceed. You can see here we want this, so this is the version that we want. So there are two ways we can do this. We can either add a table. The way to add a table is not there. You can see if you have your mouse, just hover over them. You will easily see this is table size. Okay, so I'll click on table. I think, yeah. If you clicked here, it will add a custom table, which is just, look, it will just add that, but I don't want that. I want to customize it to my needs. So clicking on the arrow that's down will give you this here. If I want 3 rows, for instance. Yeah, it will be that. But I just want 2 rows and maybe multiple columns. Yeah, so I can keep going down. So 2 rows and multiple columns. So here would be the process, and here would be description. So for example, start, and then what is the description? You can see here I said initiate the registration for a new Facebook account. Yeah, or it could just be whatever. So whatever the process you're about to do. If you're about to do a process for WhatsApp, you then say a new process for whatever the goal is, a new process for creating an account or something. If you're about to generate a process for calling people, whatever the process is, you would just give a description of it. Yeah, whatever the goal is, just give a brief description of that goal here, and then you then move on to the steps. So what is step 1? What is step 1 of the process? For instance, here we have visit Facebook website. That's the first step. Visit Facebook website, and then here we'll then describe it. Yeah, what happens? So here I've got here the user navigates to there. That is what happens. Yeah. And then what's the third step? So here, process or steps. Yeah, means the same thing. So detail your process, and when you finish, you can click publish. Always click publish. This is what will come up. If you don't publish, nothing happens. And then you can see it's publishing under my name. Yeah, so always check and verify that it's publishing under your name, and then publish. And you can see it loads. That's it, it's done. It's told me it was published. You can also see here published. It's confirmation. Yeah, and that's it. Anyone can see this. Anybody wants to comment, they can also comment. Well done. Yeah, that's it. It captures the name of who left the comment. So I will send an assignment for this for everyone to practice this skill, and I want you all to do exactly what I've just done, which is come under your name, click on the plus, select page, and go ahead and do exactly what you've just seen me do. Rewatch the video if you need to help you. That's why I create these videos, so you can go back over them and let them help you. Okay, and that is all. Any questions, guys? Okay, no questions. Thank you guys for today. It's been a good one to take you through dealing with process flows and how, as a product manager, they're useful. Good ways of capturing high-level requirements and communicating to teams. And as PMs, this is what we do. Mostly, we would use this version. And for those of you that would want to also practice with this version, this way of doing things, then Miro is there. I'll give the options for you to do the 2 of them, but at least the one that I expect the most is this version in Confluence. If you want to practice the diagrammic version on Miro, go ahead, and once you've done, you can show me next week, because I don't think you'll be able to send me what you do there, but just keep it and you can show it to me next week in our class. But this one here, I'll be able to see once you've done it. Any questions? Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for today. That's the end of the